to the students of members, but also members in getting to know the credit union and what we provide and what they could benefit from. Because what he realized is we have promotions, we have different activities throughout the year, and some members are not aware of it. And he would always push to say, okay, well, I met some members and they were asking about that, whatever promotions we may have, and he needed all the information, so at least when his question, that he would have the answers for them. But he also wanted them to be aware of it for themselves, not only from the standpoint of just the directors, but at least everybody would be educated when it comes to the policies of the credit union. As I stand here today, not a day goes by that I don't remember the words that he always echoes, that he's always telling me, bro, we could always make it better. And I'm hoping today that with this launch, that we could make the lives of the students of our members a lot better in assisting them with that scholarship. To Team Police Credit Union, I would like to say thanks also for the hard work you all put into getting this day set and for us to get it off the ground. I'm looking forward to the continued support of every member as we continue to deliver to our members, as we always seek to put them first. So as we get into the program of the launch of the scholarship, Nathan Timet Scholarship, I'd like for us to just stand for a brief moment, just to remember our former director. Okay, thank you. I'd like to also acknowledge Ms. Jasmine Safrin for the words that will be unveiled on our plaque a little bit later. And again, I would like to thank everyone for being here, and let us continue this ceremony. And like I said, Nathan will always be part of us, and we will always remember him. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And at this moment, I would like to invite a longtime colleague of our brother Nathan to the podium, Miss Melissa Hippolyte, to deliver just some brief remarks.
Good morning, everyone. I wish to adapt the protocol which has already been established. It warms my heart to stand here this morning amongst a handful of the many people who would love to be here to honor a son, brother, friend, colleague, and role model to many, if not all of us. Despite us being from various walks of life, we all have one thing in common, which is love and admiration for our beloved Nathan Timet. Nate didn't just belong to his family. He became family to almost everyone whom he had a close encounter with because of his humanity and his affectious personality. I first met Nate about 9 years ago on the 13th of January 2013, as we began our career as law enforcement officers at the Police Training Academy. Just as most can say, from our introduction, his height and build blew my mind away. Within these 6 months of training, he became a younger brother, a friend, and a protector. Upon completion of our initial training, we both were recruited to work within the Criminal Investigations Department. About 3 years later, I worked even closer with him under that umbrella of the Criminal Investigations Department at the Vulnerable Persons Team. Our friendship carried through our years until his passing. When I think of Nate, I think of the following: caring, loyal, loving, supportive, role model, spiritual, self-motivated, ambitious, disciplined, respectful, social butterfly, a lover of food, selfless, motivator, and I am positive that there are many others that you too can add to the list. Anyone having met Nate could attest that from his approach and the manner in which he addressed persons, would tell that he was a respectful young man. His firm handshakes and hugs were one of the most pleasant greetings one could experience. I recall one man speaking of his first and only encounter with Nate. He stated that he and Nate had accidentally bumped into each other at the supermarket, and when he raised his head, he was amazed at the giant which stood before him and exclaimed, "Oh my God." In response, Nate replied, "No, sir, it's only Timet." He continued by saying the tone of Nate's voice, accompanied by his height, and the firm handshake he received in that short moment, left him in awe. He told Nate that he should be called Gomet, and they both laughed. Nate then shook his hand again and asked him to enjoy what's left of his day, and they parted ways. Nate was nothing short of a pleasant, respectful, and gentle giant, as he was affectionately called at times, and a very fitting nickname, I might add. Nate was also a loving and caring man. Anyone who worked closely with him or had a close relationship with him knew how much he had a passion for assisting others, trying to make life or situations better for individuals. Whether it be through work or just on his personal time. The vagrants that we would simply just walk past on the streets were no exception, for they too were impacted by the character of the giant. Whenever he could, he would provide them with something to eat or converse with them. It was by no surprise that they respected him, not just for being a police officer, but as an individual. To him, to show respect is how you received respect, no matter the person. I recall being on foot patrol in the city with Nate on an early afternoon, and whilst patrolling, we encountered Jalov, and boy was I amazed at the way the two spoke like they had been friends from ages. To top it off, as we walked, she walked alongside us. Suddenly, Nate stopped at a restaurant and buys a meal, then hands it over to her. What swept me away even more was how she expressed her heartfelt thanks to him and the smile it brought to his face. That was our Nate. His colleagues would speak of how nothing was too much for him to do. You needed an early relief. You needed someone to assist you with an arrest. You needed someone to drive you to a location. You call on Nate, and he would be there. One of his corporals, Corporal Lana Nicholas, remembers how he was the driving force behind her accomplishing some of the many goals that she has accomplished today. And he didn't just stop there. He kept reminding her of how proud he was of her accomplishments. Nate was a social butterfly. This time of year would have been his time. Nathan loved his bacchanal. He ensured that every year around Carnival, he was on vacation, and according to him, it would be fete after fete after fete, daybreak into daybreak. I sometimes wondered how he did it. How did he manage to have all that energy to survive all that soca which he loved and jumped that and all that jump up, He loved his times with his guys, especially with his best friends, King and Andrade. Andrade and King can say that whenever Nate felt heat under his feet, he would call on them to suggest a line or to meet up with him somewhere. It didn't extend to only to have a drink. It would also mean going fishing, ATV tours, a party, river line, meeting at one of their houses just to hang out. Or just to hang out. You name it, the three of them did it. To add to him being a social butterfly, Timothy loved his food. That explained why he was such a giant. I'm sure his friends can recall that dinner at the Coco Palm Resort, the mountain of food which weighed on his plates. His friend Nola would also ensure that whenever he came to visit, that she had something to offer him. Nate's ambition was to have an input into as many areas as he could to effect positive change and positively impact the lives of people. He engaged himself in many work groups. I personally clashed with him on various levels. He was part of the police volleyball team. He was a Calypsonian singing under the name The Counselor. He was part of the police drill squad. He was a member of the Cadet Corps. He played an active role as one of the founders of the Mudstars Juve Carnival Band. He was the director of the Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union. Last but by no means least, Nate aspired to be the Commissioner of Police one day. Speaking of someone who could wear many hats, that was Nathan. It is commonly said that behind every successful man is a strong woman. Our beloved brother could never have been the character he was had it not been for the support of his friends and family, especially his mom Prisca, his aunt Beverly, and his partner Daniel. If you knew Nate, you would automatically know Daniel. Rarely would you see him and not see her. Knowing his love for her also meant that you understood one of the reasons why he was such an ambitious and motivated young man. Nate lived his life with a plan, not just for himself, but for his future, and that meant his family. Understanding this about Nate, I saw firsthand what drove him to work so tirelessly. If he wasn't performing his police duties, rest assured, he was burning some hours at some other job. That man had a vision. It's all thanks to Daniel's support and love, and that of his family and friends, that gave him a greater drive to excel and accomplish greater things for himself. And it is because of that ambition and drive to succeed that we are here today, and I trust that the awardees will carry on his legacy. Now, mind you, he didn't just live his life doing all that without the necessary foundation. Nate was most importantly a God-fearing man. He loved going to church and being part of the choir. I remember our Sunday praise and worship days at the Police Training Academy. He would blow up a storm praising and worshiping our Creator. that didn't just end there. He would sometimes ensure to speak words of life into victims and defendants alike whilst on the job. He tried his best to breathe those words to them, to give them a proper sense of direction. His counseling and lecture sessions always included God. He knew his Father had a purpose for him, and that to fulfill and discover that purpose, he had to have God as center. And as his name is rightfully defined as a gift from God, he sure lived up to his name. He will live on through our memories and the positive impact he had on our lives. Our Nate, our gentle giant, our Nathan teammate. And with this, I'll leave you with a verse from the Bible. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 13 to 14. Brothers and sisters, we do not want you to be uninformed about those who sleep in death, so that you do not grieve like the rest of mankind who have no hope. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so, through Jesus, God will bring with him those who have fallen asleep. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hippolyte. I think that was neat in just a few minutes. I'm not one who always likes to add or butt into what people speak about. But from my experience and my observation, anybody who speaks of Nathan always speaks of a very good first encounter. And you know what we say about first impressions? You know what we say about first encounters? Yes, they always last. I can speak about mine, where I was an instructor on a course where he was a participant. And I was coaching his team for the practical exam. And while they were asking some questions, he was asking a question. And I looked up at him. He stopped, he said, "Sarge," I was a sergeant at the time. He said, "Sarge, stand there." I looked at him like, what's this guy saying? He said, "Stand there," pointing to the stairs. And when I stood there, I turned around. He said to me, "Now, I did not want to make it seem like I was talking down to a sergeant." That was my first encounter, my first real one-on-one encounter with Nate. And that's what really stands out about him, is that everybody speaks of their first encounter with him, and it's a very good one in all instances that I've heard about. So at this point, I would like to call on, we have the revealing of the scholarship awards, and I would like to call on one of our directors, Mr. Martin James.
I am not Mr. Martin James, but just before he delivers his remarks, the procedure for revealing the scholarship program, or actually launching it, is that Mr. James will make his presentation. Then he will also be doing the actual unveiling, which whatever resides behind this display, he will present to Ms. Dania, and Ms. Dania will make the presentation, symbolic presentation, to the president of the board, which is Mr. Antoine, and then the family and the rest of the officers will come towards the back for a group photo. Mr. James.
Thank you very much, Mr. Charlemagne. Yeah, I'm just breathing. I'm always a bit nervous when I have to do anything. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Martin James. I am indeed honored to be the presenter in revealing this scholarship award. Permit me to recognize our president of the board of directors, chairman of the board of directors, the mother, auntie, and family. I recognize Miss Matre and her mother. I recognize former presidents and other members, the management and staff of the credit union. I recognize you. So my short presentation. The Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited was founded and established on the 23rd of March 1968. Yes, much older than some of us here. From the very start, this institution have remained dedicated and totally committed to meeting all members' needs to an optimum satisfaction. Being in sync with cooperative principle number 5, which mandates us to the educating, training, and informing of our members, we have initiated and maintained over the years a scholarship award program to the offsprings of our members. Now, upon the transcendence of Nathan Timmet from this physical earth to the spiritual great beyond, the board of directors and other officers of the credit union have taken the decision on behalf of the entire membership to rename the scholarship award in Nathan Timmet's honor. Now, former director Nathan Timmet was a young, energetic, resilient, and quite eloquent director during his brief tenure on the board. He was always in the forefront, yes, when it comes to the fulfilling of members' needs. He always presented an excellent argument, and the directors on the board could definitely speak to that. Always presented an excellent argument. That same character trait was evident in the execution of his duties to the general public as a police officer. The renaming of this scholarship fund, the Nathan Timmet Scholarship Award, is definitely a befitting tribute to his probity. His love and concern for others will forever remain an example for all of us at the credit union. We have every confidence, ladies and gentlemen, that the recipients and the awardees of this scholarship will make very good use of it and maintain success always. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, members of this noble institution, families of the honored Nathan Timmet, members and staff, Tut Moon, I present to you the Nathan Timmet Scholarship Award. Please put your hands together as is presented. Okay. And was it
Miss Matthews? My friend, sorry. Mr. James will present to you, and you in turn will present to our president, Mr. Antoine. Mr. Antoine, can you come forward? So proceed, please. Jasmine, you're going to take a shot?
The Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited was established. That's some of the same things I said again? Okay. Okay, was established on March 24, 1968, and has remained dedicated to meeting the member satisfaction. The credit union over the years have maintained its scholarship awards to the children of the current members. Upon the passing of Mr. Nathan Timet, BC 863, who was a stalwart, director during his brief tenure, the board of directors of the Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union Limited has taken the decision on behalf of all its members to rename the scholarship award in his honor. Former director Timet was a young, energetic, resilient, and outspoken individual. He has always chosen to be in the forefront when it comes to fulfilling the members' needs and that of the general public, being an officer of the Royal Special Police Force. The renaming of the scholarship to Nathan Timet's Scholarship Award is fitting tribute to his property. Ladies and gentlemen, the scholarship, this is the read up on the scholarship award. So I present now to ladies and gentlemen, keep the applause going, please.
Thank you very much. Just before, so everybody, can you come for in the background so that we could take a photo? Of course, the family will be just after the sign, and Miss Marfrey and Mr. Antoine. So can you stand, please, and form some sort of horseshoe behind them, the family first?
That's mine.
Everybody else? So please stay. So you will be joined by the rest of the participants, officers of the credit union. Thank you very much, everybody that came. I know it is quite a solemn moment, but we know Mr. Nathan, his spirit is within us and is going to reside within the walls of the credit union for an eternity.
Thank you, everyone. Director James, Mr. Manager, and Ms. Mafra. At this point, we have the vote of thanks, and I would like to call on Ms. Beverly Judona for the vote of thanks.
General Manager, Mr. Baines Charlemagne, President of the Board of Directors, Mr. Milton Antoine, other members of the Board of Directors, staff of the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union, invited guests, family and friends, good morning. An anonymous author wrote, "It is not happiness that brings us gratitude. Rather, it is gratitude that brings us happiness. Today is indeed a bitter, sweet day for my family, but gratitude sure uplifts our spirits and brings us a little happiness. Our most sincere gratitude to the members of the Board of Directors of the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union for recognizing how much the work of this credit union meant to our beloved Nathan Timet, and acknowledging that his plan was to serve diligently and selflessly. Timet loved being a member of the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union, and he was elated when he became a director. He came to me beaming with pride and carefully detailing all he was going to do to ensure his personal and professional growth as a director. That was a proud moment for him. Timet's life was all about service, giving of himself to others who were in need. It was his modus operandi to offer words of prayer, encouragement, or advice to anyone he thought was in need of it. One of his personal acts of service was preparing and distributing hampers to the less fortunate. It gave him great joy knowing that he could bring a little assistance to those who were less able than he was. He had a passion for carrying out his police duties of service and creating a safer environment for all. And he did it with pride, even though it cost him his life. Timet, our Nathan Timet, epitomized service to others, and he died in service to others. Today, we feel honored as Timet's family to be part of such an auspicious occasion, the launching of the Nathan Timet Scholarship Fund as the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union continues to give back to young people who are deserving. What a commendable gesture. Many young persons from primary to tertiary level will be the fortunate recipients of scholarships to ensure the realization of their goals, dreams, and aspirations, and to facilitate the successful completion of their academic studies. I know that TMET continues to bask in heaven's glory with that smile of satisfaction and whispering one of his famous expressions, "Yeah, man, good stuff." A special thank you to the President of the Board, Mr. Milton Antoine, and to the entire Board of Directors for this thoughtful gesture of a scholarship fund in TMET's honor. Thank you to Ms. Jasmine Suffren for the thoughtful and well put together words on the Nathan TMET plaque. Mr. Martin James, thank you for revealing Nathan TMET's Scholarship Award. To our Master of Ceremony, thank you for such a smooth and seamless ceremony this morning, indeed a celebration. To the staff and all other invited guests, family and friends, thank you for being part of this historic event. Alphonse Carr posited that some people grumble that roses have thorns, but he is grateful that thorns have roses. We, the members of the Diodoni family, express the sentiments of Carr and are indeed grateful that the roses of Nathan's life can be seen amidst the thorns of his passing. Although we ache every day at Nathan's untimely passing, we are grateful that the Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union has ensured that his memory lives on. Thank you, Royal St. Lucia Police and Allied Services Cooperative Credit Union. TMET's legacy lives on.
Thank you, Ms. Diodoni. So that ends our ceremony right now. Well, Ms. Diodoni already gave the vote of thanks, but I would just like to thank everybody for being here. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you, merci beaucoup for coming. We would like you to join us on the outside for some refreshments. Thank you.